Well, Big Jim on Lucille Marie, giving you an update on the process with the varnishing of the doors. The outside has been given 6 to 7 coats of varnish, and now the inside has three coats right now. The varnish doesn't dry that fast. It's not the fast drying varnish that I had before. The one I had before said it was a fast drying varnish, but it didn't say it was exterior. And you really want to make sure you're using exterior grade varnish, because the whole point is to protect the wood from the UV. Now, what's interesting is the inside of the doors is actually coming out nicer than the outside. You can see the surface is very smooth and it has very few defects in it. And I think it has to do with the fact that since I took last week and did all the varnishing on the outside of the doors to get those ready first, I don't think the epoxy was fully hardened. And varnish, what it likes to do is soak in. And if the epoxy is hardened, it's obviously sitting on a much firmer surface, so it has a chance to bite in and dry in a better way. It's also filling in all the pores of the wood so that there's nothing for the varnish to soak into. And if you'll notice, whenever you're doing varnishing, the first couple coats, 2 or 3 coats of varnish, sometimes you don't see very much of an effect of what you're expecting, like high gloss or satin or even semi-gloss. It's very muted because a lot of the varnish is actually going into the wood, and you don't have anything bouncing back. The light's not reflecting off of it. If you use a filler, I think I explained this paste filler that I had used in a much younger day. It was an oil-based filler. I wish I could find that paste because it was amazing. Literally the first coat of varnish on there would look like you had done 10 coats because it filled all the pores in. Another thing that happens with raw wood is some wood will actually throw up little fibers. And as you paint it and you run your hand over it, it's like the wood is smooth when you touch it bare after you sanded it. But as soon as you get it wet, either with varnish or water, you'll see little hairs pop up from the wood, little fibers come up out of the wood. And that you are sanding down. And every time you sand down, you're taking some varnish off, so you're getting back to where you started in the first place. So it's a never-ending process, and it really drives you crazy. That's why this paste filler was so amazing, because it literally filled in those pores of the wood, and the fibers couldn't come back out. And the first coat of varnish goes on, and it's literally going on almost like painting on steel because there's no pores in it, and the varnish sits right on the surface. So this interior of the doors is going a lot nicer, a lot faster than the exterior did. So I have a feeling that before the weekend I might be able to get 4 or 5 coats on, and the interior is not as crucial as the exterior because the doors are usually closed when they're on the boat, and if we're sailing, usually the doors are removed because they're removable. And so I don't need to have as much varnish on the inside as I do on the outside, although I'd still like to have 8 to 10 coats on there so that this particular setup will be much better. As I've explained, I'm a very impatient person, and I like to get things done fast, and quality almost never happens in a hurry. And I've got a little bit of a cold. And so the issue there is having patience. Now, if I was actually staying and living on the boat, like you see a lot of these other YouTube channels where they're living on their boat, they can, basically varnish something and go away for a day and come back, and it's basically they're living on the boat. I don't have that opportunity because I have to leave, come back to my real life, and as a result, I don't get a chance to get to work on things in a leisurely, manner to do them in the proper way. When I do, they come out nicely, but that's not always the case. So that's what the update is right now. I've got the fan on, so the fan is helping to dry the varnish more quickly. So I'm able to get at least 2 coats of varnish on per day. So I've already got 3 coats on, so I'll put my 4th coat on when I get back, hopefully from the gym later this afternoon. Another thing that I've been learning, and again, I've been painting and varnishing all my life, but I've always been in a hurry. And my dad was the kind of guy who would take his brushes, and he'd always have a pot of turpentine or mineral spirits sitting in his garage, and he would typically drill a hole in the handle of the brush and put a wire through it, and then dip them into the turpentine or the mineral spirits and leave them there forever. And then when he needed one, he would take it out of the mineral spirits, dry it off, get rid of all the turpentine and the mineral spirits, and then use it for painting or varnishing. And that seemed to work for him. I don't have the ability to do that around here. If I left it in the garage, I'm sure I would knock it over and spill it. So as a result, what I used to do in the past would be to use the mineral spirits to clean the brushes off, and then you'd have to let the brush dry out. The problem is you're never getting all of the varnish off the brush or all the paint off the brush typically. Now paint is easier to see than varnish, but as you can see, this brush is pretty clean. And one of my friends showed me a little trick that you may or may not know about. And what he did is he cleans his brush off with the mineral spirits, and then the second step, which is I've never done before, except with latex brushes and stuff, is that he washed the brush off in the sink with soap and water. And what's interesting is it seems to work just fine. Now this may be a lost secret that I just didn't know about for 40 years, but so far I've been doing a great job. I haven't had to throw away a brush yet, and so I use a little bit of Dawn detergent to get the last bit of mineral spirits off. So I use the mineral spirits to get the varnish off the brush, and then I wash it. And I've been using the same brush now for probably at least 10 coats of varnish, and the brush is still as good as new. So keep that in mind when you're doing your brushes. Depending on what kind of material you're using. Obviously, a latex paint you can use water to wash them off with, but I've always even had problems with getting latex off completely off the brushes. So if you know a trick to making sure that your brushes are always usable and reusable, leave that down at the bottom in the comments and share it with everybody. Thanks.